A big thank you comes to you today from Dead Rabbit via Patreon for his long support of the channel. Shanid Sleeper's Scourge versus Kadena, Dragonlord Ojutai, and Rin Seri. Pretty heavy hand there. Yeah, it's a shame because 4 lands isn't terrible, but yeah, I want some ramp and card draw really. Well, that's slightly better. We're just going to be punished and not get into any lands if I mulligan there, and I do like the Krenko, so we'll risk keeping that one. Our opponents start off some tap lands. We draw into Demonic Tutor, so we can grab a wheel with that if we want to. Just play out a Triome. A Rest in Peace for Dragonlord Ojutai. We do have Primeval's Glorious Rebirth in this deck, so yeah, I don't really want to see a Rest in Peace. Arcane Signet for the Sultai player. Now seeing Gerard, Weatherlight Hero. So I'm wondering if we need to get into some ramp for the Demonic Tutor as opposed to going for some card draw maybe. Throw down the Plateau, play the Demonic Tutor, and yeah, it's either haste or ramp I think. Maybe we can go for the Krenko next turn and then play Smothering Tithe the turn after. Yeah, we'll just take Smothering Tithe. I was tempted to go for a Sol Ring, but I think we'll get more use over the course of the game with Smothering Tithe. The Naya player taps out. We see Always Watching from the Dragonlord Ojutai, and then Kadena comes down on turn 3 thanks to the ramp, and they do get a morph creature down immediately. Okay, making some decent draws here, getting to Queen Marquesa, so now it can just be a swamp, and we'll go for the Krenko. Rin Seri goes for Chromatic Lantern and taps out, and we see a Crystal Ball from the Azorius player. Kadena throws out Vivian, Champion of the Wilds, so you can cast creature spells as though they had flash, so if you've got lots of morph creatures you can play one every single turn now, thanks to the Vivian. These are of course creatures, and they do get another one down for free. Activating Vivian's ability, look at the top 3 cards, exile one face down, the rest on the bottom in any order, and you can obviously play the one from exile if it's a creature. And they did manage to exile a creature face down with it, 5 cards left in hand over there. Okay, getting into a mountain, so we can dodge the legendary land for even longer, wait until Shanid is in play. So let's go for the Smothering Tithe, and that does hit play, and then I'll swing it. Yeah, I'll go straight down the middle at the Rest in Peace player, so we'll get a couple of Goblin tokens here. The second commander of the game entering play, Rin Seri, Inseparable. And we see a morph creature that is, yeah, they missed a morph creature on Rin Seri's turn, but playing one during the draw step of the Azorius player. So we see multiple morph creatures in play now. They do draw a card from the Kedis when they do that, so we are going to make more Smothering Tithe tokens. They do decide to pay into one of them though, so we'll assume that they don't have any kind of counter morph that, well, none that they're really particularly worried about using against Ojutai anyway. Fragmentize for Ojutai, and immediately losing our Smothering Tithe, so arguably a waste of the Demonic Tutor. Crystal Ball during the main phase, so that will be a scry 2 for them. Continuing to miss lands though, and they did just tap out, so there's no Swords or Path or Swan Song, anything like that to worry about. We see another morph creature from Kadena, and that is a Mystic Forge being cast as well. Playing out a Simic Signet as well, so not holding up any mana. And there we see one of our haste enablers, Goro Goro, so I think it's time that we get down Shanid here. A morph creature being played in response to that. We're going to play every morph creature out of their deck at this rate. And then we'll drop the Shizo, that is a legendary land, and this cares about any legendary permanent, so we will lose a life and draw a card. Gets us into a Mox Amber, which is another free means of making a legendary. Some more mana for us, so once again, lose a life and draw. That draws us into a land, so we've got lands for the next few turns. Now I've seen stranger plays, but I don't think Rin Seri is about to wipe the board after they've played their commander. Might be that if the Azorius player gets into a land, they go for a Wrath of God effect of some kind. So the safe play is probably to go for Gerard Weatherlight Hero here. Yeah, I think we'll cast that. Obviously that cantrips us with our commander, and clears another land off the top, so I'm glad we're not drawing into that next turn. Once again, swinging all of our stuff in at Dragonlord Ojutai for getting rid of our Smothering Tithe. Oh, actually, now I'm just remembering that Rest in Peace is in play, isn't it? So, yeah, the card would be put into the graveyard from anywhere, exile it instead, so things don't actually die anymore, so that does switch off Gerard Weatherlight Hero. Might draw into some spot removal for this, though. Probably would have been a better idea to just get down Goro and set up for the Atali though. Now seeing a Bloodline Pretender, which is both a cat and a dog. So we'll come in with a cat and a dog token. They do scry there as well because they've got Path of Ancestry in play. So in comes a 1/1 dog token and a 1/1 cat token. Same again, the Taurian Mauler comes into play, so enters with a couple of tokens, and just like that, the Naya player has a decent board. Scry 2 once again during the Ojutai player's turn, so that is during the upkeep this time. They could still have, is it called Vanquish the Horde or something like that? That would be a 2-mana Wrath at this point. They do get into a land by turn 6, that is their 4th one. And now casting Solemnity, which is no doubt a combo piece. So yeah, I'm going to continue to concentrate on the Dragonlord Ojutai. Strionic Resonator from the Kadena player, so they can draw twice as many cards on Morph. 2 cards left in their hand, which we should keep track of because of Mystic Forge. They could be playing cards off the top. Ticked up Vivien, Champion of the Wild, so up to 1 creature gains Vigilance until the end of the turn, Reach and Vigilance on their commander. And then they cast themselves a Grizzleaxe. Whenever a creature you control becomes blocked, you may return it to its owner's hand. 1 or more creatures you control deals combat damage to a player draw. So you only ever draw 1 card from that thing, unfortunately for them. And then Reality Shift onto the Taurian Mauler. I don't think I would have bothered with that personally, especially not during the main phase. Wait and see where it attacks in, it could be dealing damage to your opponents for you. This thing does get absolutely huge, but it's of no threat to them at the moment. Kadena also swinging in at the Dragonlord Ojutai, taking some morph creatures in there as well. I think maybe they don't want their graveyard getting exiled either, or they're just worried about the combo piece. So they go down to 20. Also drawing a card from the Grizzleaxe and morphing yet another creature into play. Then they activated the ability of the Mystic Forge at the end of their turn there. So tap, pay a life, exile the top card of your library, and that was Ugin the Ineffable. So yeah, not sure why they went for the exile on that. That's a really good spell. Maybe because they're assuming that they're going to be keeping Vivien. Alright, Reaver Cleaver is excellent. Don't have any kind of a double striker, but I think we are going to keep that in play. Let's go for a little bit shy on white mana, so let's go for some white mana first. And then 6 mana to play and equip the Reaver Cleaver. Unfortunately, I was hoping that we could go Shizo onto Gerard and get rid of the Vivien, but yeah, I just want to concentrate on ramping here, to be honest. And we draw a card as well. Labyrinth Raptor. Whenever a creature we control with Menace becomes blocked, the defending player sacrifices the creature or one of the creatures blocking it. So that's obviously good in somewhat Menace tribal deck that we're running here. Buff up our Krenko because that'll pull double duty. It'll make more Goblin tokens. And it has the highest power here anyway, so it'll make more treasures for us. So now we swing in, ready to make 4 treasures. And I am just going to pile in straight down the middle. Get even more chump blockers out with Krenko, thankfully. Manage to hit them, they go down to 6. We make some treasure tokens. Hopefully the cat and dog player will join in on the bullying and get rid of the combo player. So after that, I think I'm fine to go for Goro. Try and keep some of the treasures in play so that it's effectively ramped for us for next turn. That will cantrip us, get into Captain Lannery Storm as well, so playing quite nicely around a board wipe if our opponents do manage to get rid of our board. Doubling Season in for the dog and cats player, going for another changeling, and that's Masked Vandal, so they don't have anything to exile, so that is literally just for the tokens there. Masked Vandal, you can exile something from your bin and then go on to exile an artifact or enchantment from the field. Bloodline Pretender is now a 4/4, and yep, gonna finish off the Azorius player. That's really good. So we'll get our graveyards back now, and our Gerard is switched back on. Mystic Forge exiling the top card of the library. They exiled a forest. Vivien looking at the top 3 cards, and they do manage to exile a creature face down. I think it's about time we deal with that Vivien next turn. They've got a hell of a lot of value out of it. Playing another morph creature. That was one from exile. The face down exile card is gone here. Yeah, we've really left the Kadena player alone for a long time, so they can morph pretty much anything they want here now. Anyway, they copied the Kadena trigger with the Stronic Resonator, so they draw 2 cards here, going up to 4, and then throwing down a Thran Dynamo. Still 6 mana left available to them. Our opponent's starting to swing in at us with everything, so I wonder if they've got Seaboard Muse in their hand or something. I'll take some hits here, but I'll try and take down some morph creatures with me. Obviously, we don't know which ones to take here, so just the 2 on the left, and then, what is it, 3? Yeah, that's actually a hit for 14, unfortunately. Yeah, we'll do it that way. Oh, completely forgot about Grazilax's other ability. You may return it to its owner's hand, yeah. I mean, we're forcing them to do that, but we're effectively just giving them more morph and player instant speed shenanigans, so yeah, should have just chump blocked a lot of stuff there. Completely forgot about that on Grazilax. Does give them less things to bounce at least. That is a Thelanate Hermit, so that is this one getting flipped around, and they do make some saprolings in doing so, and then deciding to bounce it back to hand, yep. And then they just straight up bounce the other one back to hand, so they've got 6 cards in hand here. And we go down to 19, they draw a card to the Grazilax, and we do at least keep our zombie or goblin tokens. Makokoro is a legendary land, so we'll play that and cantrip with it. A morph creature comes down in response, so we might be able to guess which one that was. Draw into Laelia, the Blade Reforged. Means strangely we actually could do, we're trying to get into a board wipe here. So maybe we play Laelia, swing in with it straight away and give it fear. It's only artifact creatures and black creatures that can block. These are colourless, but they're not artifacts, so should be able to get into Vivian. I mean, we can go wide onto Vivian anyway. So throw down Laelia, the Blade Reforged. That gets us into Adeline, Resplendent Cathar. Give Laelia fear with the Shizo, and then I'll just put the Reaver Cleaver onto the Laelia as well, because that's going to hit a Planeswalker hopefully and make some more treasures for us. It's going to be just as strong as the Krenko, and there's every chance that we lose Krenko, annoyingly. So swing in and finally deal with that Vivian. Laelia will put a plus counter on itself and exile something off the top for us to potentially play. Okay, and we exile there, Urza's Ruinous Blast. We are hopefully going to get through here and actually hit and make some treasure tokens, so we can actually play the Urza's Ruinous Blast. Going to lose the Goblin tokens in doing so, but I don't think it's going to matter. So we do successfully get rid of the Vivian, make ourselves 4 treasure tokens, going up to 7. So now we might as well use all the mana from our treasure tokens, because we're about to exile everything that isn't legendary, including the treasures and the goblins. So let's go for Urza's Ruinous Blast. That is a legendary spell, so we will cantrip once again. Floating Rakdos mana so that I can get down the Labyrinth Raptor after this. Draw into Godo, Bandit Warlord. We have that and Aurelia, along with the equipment that combos with those. Alright, so successfully exiling everything, that is really good. Get down the Labyrinth Raptor, and I'd like to get into some kind of life gain at some point, because we're teetering here. Growing Rats of Itlamok coming down at just the wrong time. That was a lucky top deck from us. Chetmir's Nexus of Revels. Yeah, really glad I got the board wipe off, because we would have been in a really rough spot there. Chetmir is a cat, of course, so it will come in with a dog token. And the Rin is buffed up to a Vigilance 5/4. Not swinging in with it though, that would have been a tricky block for us. I think I would have just had to throw this thing away. Obviously they don't know that we're not willing to gang up on that thing though. Yeah, I haven't seen any spot removal either, unfortunately, so... Okay, here we go with the morph stuff again. I mean, they've got 6 cards left in hand, so they can actually just straight up hard cast a lot of these, but then they won't have mana left to flip them round, so... Yep, there's a 3 visits from them for more mana. Shocking in an Overgrowth. And then hard casting a morph spell, which will cantrip them again. Then Golgari Signet, 5 cards in hand. And it's round to our turn again. Okay, Painful Truths. The issue here is that we are the arch enemy now. So I'm thinking it's just Etali Primal Storm and Godo, or Goro gives it haste. So be forced to lose a life. This is the downside of Shanid, is that it's not a May ability. You do have to lose a life and draw a card. Allows us into Talisman of Hierarchy. Play out a fetch because we need another land to activate the haste on Goro. So activate that. That will just effectively give Etali haste here. And then I'm going to put things on the stack and see what we get into with the Atali first before I decide who to give Fear to. Because it wouldn't be the worst thing in the world to get through with the Reaver Cleaver again. And if they do the whole block with a Morph creature and bounce it back to their hand to protect it, well, we have Trample anyway. So we'll get some chump blockers. Krenko can go into the left. We might lose Krenko here, but it does have Menace, so they're at risk of losing a creature themselves. They don't have First Strike or anything. No, just Vigilance on them at the moment. And then Laelia goes in at the right. Atali goes in at the right as well. And all these creatures have Menace, don't forget. So we go Laelia, Krenko, and Atali. See what we get with Atali. Laelia is going to trigger and buff herself with these because we're casting from exile. So that is Temur Sabertooth, a Kahira, the Orphan Guard, and our own Valky God of Lies, or Tibalt, Cosmic Imposter, I'm pretty sure we can do here. So yeah, we'll do Tibalt, Cosmic Imposter. That will lose us a life to the Shanid. This is legendary as well as it happens, so we're going to have to be careful. Cast all of those. Right, Laelia getting buffed up to a 5/5, so yeah, if they want to double block with some stuff, I mean, they could flip one of these round into a big creature, but I'm not all that worried about losing Laelia, to be honest. See what we draw into before we tap down for the Fear stuff. That is a land, and it's a fetch of all things. Alright, Tymna the Weaver is some life gain at least. I'm not sure it's going to be enough life gain. The tribes on Kahira are cats, elementals, nightmare dinosaurs, and beasts. We've got a cat here, incidentally, but oh, there's a dinosaur here as well, so we are actually getting some buffs from that. Tibalt, Cosmic Imposter as well. Then Krenko gets a plus counter, makes us some tokens, and then we exile the top card of the library with Laelia, so it's going to get even bigger. Alright, that is an Arcane Signet, which isn't the worst thing that we could have exiled. Yeah, so I think I'll just hold up the mana here. If we lose some of our creatures because we didn't go for the whole Fear thing, then so be it. Of course, forgot about Atali there. That's a dinosaur as well, so that actually has Vigilance from this thing as well. A Morph creature chumps the Atali. They'll need to block with 2 creatures thanks to the Menace. So throwing both the Morph creatures in the way of that. And then that triggers the Labyrinth Raptor, so they do have to sacrifice one of those. Maybe they can flip one round before doing that. Maybe want to get some more Saprolings in the way. Need to remember about the activated ability on this as well. We can give +1 to power on creatures we control with Menace. They decide to sacrifice the Theonate. Oh, of course, that's 5 mana, not 3 mana. Yeah, 3 mana to put down and 5 to flip, so they couldn't make the Saprolings with that thing. Playing their Morph creatures very close to their chest, though. No other blocks are declared, so we do get through with the Krenko and keep it. And then, after all that, we've got treasure tokens to make with Laelia yet, so knocking them down to 30... The Jetmir player goes down to 36. Would really love to exile this thing, because they're about to get trample and buffs on all their stuff. And now we can make green mana with this thing thanks to the treasures, so we can bounce a creature back to hand and give Temur Sabertooth indestructible. That could be relevant. I'm not positive that we're going to exile something decent here, so I think I'd just rather get rid of the Jetmir by ticking down this thing. So let's get rid of Jetmir before it does any real damage to us. And then the strange thing is that we can actually play Jetmir. So yeah, don't see any reason to not do that, to be honest. There's another legendary, so we draw a card and lose a life. That draws us into Rograk, which is basically a free card draw spell for us. Getting the full buff from Jetmir, of course, +3 to power, trample, vigilance, and double strike. That goes on all of our creatures. We'll get rid of a land, Talisman of Hierarchy, and I don't think we particularly need Queen Marquesa at this point. Majorite Stone, untap a creature that has an activated ability with a tap in its cost. Is that their commander? Oh yeah, deals damage to a target equal to the number of dogs you control. So they only control 2 of those at the moment. Rin Seri going to be activated a few times here, and they'll hope that the Sultai player can do something to us. So knocking us down to 9. They actually can't afford to activate their commander again, thankfully. Deciding to untap their commander regardless, though. Didn't point out the other Morph creature, actually, I don't think. That was a Death Mist Raptor, which, yeah, was 5 mana to flip round as well, so that would have been a Death Toucher that they could have thrown in the way of something. Didn't have the mana for it, though. This is why it was so important to get rid of the Vivian, because It really reduces the number of morph creatures you can get out. A Thieving Amalgam here. Whenever a creature you control but don't own dies, its owner loses 2, you gain 2, so yeah, we're really, really, really desperate for life gain at this point. Alright, but they just decide to scoop it there anyway. It's likely that we're going wide on everyone next turn anyway, so yeah, we'll just turn in sideways at our tapped out opponent here, I think. Get into a legendary land. Well, I appreciate my opponents playing it out. Swing in with everything here. Not going to lose any creatures, even if they do double block on a menace creature, because they're going to have to sack one of them, thanks to that dinosaur, the Labyrinth Raptor, so that's a worthy include here. Exile a couple of cards here, one for us and one for our opponent. A Mirror Entity. Get an Elspeth Sun's Champion as well, which is going to be irrelevant. Does draw us another card with the Shanid though. Yeah, and our opponent scoops there. I mean, they're just going to have to wait for all this to leave the stack. Ooh, and a nice little bit of salt just to end the video with as well. So there we go. We can all see why I like Shanid way more than I like Dehada now, because that card draw is absolutely insane. It can be a detriment to you if you're not going to be getting into a lot of lifelink, so maybe include a lot of lifelink in your decks because you're going to be losing life in this one, but I think it's an underappreciated commander. I don't think anyone's going to bully you for playing Shanid just yet until that commander is really discovered. Big thank you to the patrons as ever who support the channel so consistently. You can do that yourself via the link in the description below. Big thank you to my opponents as well, because they played it out to the bitter end, and that obviously means it's a better viewing experience for all of you. I'm tribalkai. Thank you for watching.